Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well on this terrific Tuesday. I'm hoping it's going to be terrific. Anyway, I'm always hopeful when the days start. And by the way, you're looking terrific. And we're going to get straight into the meat and potatoes this morning, as I decided not to stream the Karen Reid case. Decided not to stream it. Let the professionals do it. Let them have their day, and I will just give kind of highlights, if you like, speak about some of the things that came out that I think you guys will find the most interesting. And with that being said, let's get straight into the meat and potatoes, as we're talking about nudes and the hunt for. So we go back into this. So here we go. Nudes. Couldn't make this shit up if you tried. So, lead investigator in Karen Reid murder probe told friends he searched her phone for nudes, trial heard. Finance professor accused of killing cop boyfriend is being framed in cover-up. That's the defence. And I think there's a lot of people who feel that actually holds quite a bit of weight. But here we go. So the lead investigator in the Karen Reid murder probe told friends that he had searched her phone for nudes, the court heard during the first day of her trial on Monday. Opening statements got underway in the high-profile trial of the college finance professor who has been charged with murder in the death of her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe. O'Keefe's body was found in the snow in front of the home in the early hours of the 29th of January 2022, following a night of partying at a bar in Canton, Massachusetts. Now, let's just put this into context as well before we go any further, and think this. This is pretty straightforward. Well, I say pretty straightforward. It's not straightforward, but in terms of one death, one accused, and a murder charge, and we're over 2 years down the trot before the trial has commenced. So we look at the Idaho 4 case, and although it's frustrating, but there's a lot more moving parts in that case. And as far as timelines go, look, let's get things into perspective. Anyway, I digress. Days later, the 44-year-old professor was arrested and charged with murder. Prosecutors allege that Miss Reid ran over her police officer boyfriend during a snowstorm and left him for dead on the freezing front lawn of their friend's home. Among the details which emerged in the opening statements on Monday were the text messages that the lead investigator in the case, Massachusetts State Police Trooper Michael Proctor, sent to his high school friends. Reid's defense attorney, David Yannetti, told the court that Mr. Proctor accessed Reid's phone without a search warrant. Ideal. He told his buddies that he was searching her phone for nude photos. Let me just get rid of that down there. And he was disappointed he hadn't found any yet. Yannetti told the court, "This is the professional and unbiased investigator who was chosen to lead the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe. Mr. Proctor is now under investigation himself over his handling of the case, Massachusetts State Police announced this March, just weeks before Miss Reid's trial got underway. Mr. Proctor was the focus of an internal investigation for a potential violation of department policy. The probe came one day after Miss Reid's legal team alleged that Mr. Proctor has personal relationships with multiple people involved in the case, something he had failed to disclose. I have a feeling that this is going to be the direction that this case kind of goes. In a bombshell court hearing in March, Ms. Reid's attorneys pointed to apparent text messages between Mr. Proctor and the Albert family where they promised to send Trooper a thank you gift when this is all over. I wonder what that gift was going to be for. The first day of trial also revealed that a hair belonging to O'Keefe was found on the broken taillight of his girlfriend's car. Prosecutors pointed to evidence showing the victim's hair was found on Ms. Reid's car, while fragments of a broken taillight were on O'Keefe's body. Ms. Reid's defense argued in their opening statement that she has been framed for the murder and is the victim of a cover-up. An autopsy found that O'Keefe had several abrasions on his right forearm, 2 black eyes, a cut on his nose, a 2-inch laceration to the back of his head, and multiple skull fractures. Authorities also say hypothermia was a contributing factor in his death. Norfolk Assistant District Attorney Adam Lally told the jury that the couple had met in 2004, briefly dated, and then rekindled their relationship in March 2020. In the weeks leading up to Mr. O'Keefe's death, the relationship had soured, he said, had soured, gone downhill, he said, claiming Ms. Reed had accused the victim of having an affair and had started having one of her own. Mr. Lally told jurors that Ms. Reed had returned to the scene of the murder before telling a friend her boyfriend had not come home and asking for their help in searching for him. The prosecution pointed to evidence including the cracked tail light and a Google search by her friend Jennifer McCabe as to how long it would take someone to die if left out in the cold. In the defence's opening statement, Ms. Reed's attorney then stood up and told the jury that the prosecution's case was based on a shoddy and biased investigation. Attorney David Yannetti told the court that his client had dropped O'Keefe off at the home that night. Karen Reed was framed. Her car never struck John O'Keefe, he said. From the very early juncture in this case, you will question the Commonwealth's theory of the case. You will question the quality of the Commonwealth's evidence, he added. Earlier in April, Ms. Reed's legal team presented 3 alleged third-party culprits who were inside the home at the time of O'Keefe's death, in which they claim have a motive for the killing, according to the Boston Globe. This includes Brian Albert, a Boston police officer who owns the home outside of which John O'Keefe was found dead, and a federal law enforcement agent named Brian Higgins, whom Ms. Reed's team claims has a romantic interest in her. Mr. Yannetti said that the Alberts are a well-connected law enforcement family and that their ties to investigators meant that their home was not searched as part of the murder probe. The attorney also said that Mr. Albert and Mr. Higgins had spent around 20 seconds on the phone with each other that night, with the Google search by the friend happening a short time after this. The defense attorney also cast doubt on O'Keefe's cause of death. When John O'Keefe was found, he did not look like he'd been hit by a car, he looked like he'd been beaten up, Mr. Yannetti said, arguing that the victim was a tall, large man whose injuries could not have been caused by being hit at a car going around 2 miles per hour. Someone, not Karen Reed, ambushed John O'Keefe. Somebody probably didn't mean to kill him, but somebody probably went too far, the attorney continued, claiming investigators failed to look into alternate suspects. Mr. Yannetti also said that the jury will hear from a snowplow driver who passed by the house not long after prosecutors say Ms. Reed ran her boyfriend over. The defense attorney claims there was nobody present at that time. None of the alternative suspects laid out by the defense have been charged in connection to the case. Supporters of Miss Reed have been staging protests outside the court, insisting that she is innocent. Earlier this month, Judge Beverly Canone shrank the protest buzzer zone outside the courthouse to 200 feet. While public comment will likely continue, the rule of law will be upheld, Judge Canone said on the matter. Witness accounts of the night John O'Keefe died were revealed in early April in newly unsealed court documents following a request from the Boston Globe. Ms. Reed and O'Keefe had met their friend Ms. McCabe at a local bar on the evening of 28th of January 2022, according to witness statements. As the bar closed, the group was invited to the home of Nicole Albert and her husband Brian, a former fellow Boston police officer. Ms. Reed told police she subsequently dropped O'Keefe off at the Alberts' home. Ms. Reed said she went home afterwards due to stomach problems. In the early hours of the morning on the 29th of January, Ms. McCabe and Ms. Reed called her in distress. Ms. Reed called her in distress. The finance professor said she had tried to contact O'Keefe and could not reach him. Ms. McCabe told authorities this. I should learn to read punctuation. They later met up with another friend, Kerry Roberts, who received similar calls from Miss Reed. Ms. Roberts told police Ms. Reed called and said her boyfriend was dead. claiming he may have been hit by a snowplow. Ms. McCabe also told police Miss Reed asked her, "Could I have hit him?" And I think that was where this was the catalyst of her issues. The group then said they found O'Keefe unresponsive, lying in the snow in front of the Alberts' home. Ms. Roberts began CPR and Ms. McCabe called the police. After paramedics arrived, witnesses said Miss Reed repeatedly asked if her boyfriend was dead. Responding troopers also observed Ms. Reed had a broken tail light. The officer was taken to a nearby hospital but succumbed to his injuries. With Ms. Reed arrested a few days later, she faces charges of second-degree murder, manslaughter while operating under the influence of alcohol, and leaving the scene of personal injury and death. The trial is expected to last 6 to 8 weeks. But there you go, an exciting first day as they hear this. But look, it'd be interesting to hear what you guys think. Obviously, this is a case that is absolutely split in the room, with many people condemning Ms. Reed. You know, they're saying that she's the person who did it, definitely 100%. She almost admitted to it at the scene. Look, but there is a lot of people, there is a lot of support for this lady, believing that she is indeed being set up. And, you know, at the end of the day, this is law enforcement versus a member of the public, with a police officer being the victim. So what is the incentive for law enforcement to investigate law enforcement in this situation? It's a difficult one, and if anybody can, I don't know, I'm not going to say it. You know how I feel about things, you know. You have to ask everything, you have to cover every base, unturn every stone. But in this case, it's a difficult one. What do you think? Let me know down below, and we'll carry on following it and see what happens. I don't think it's going to look good though. I don't think it's going to end well. I don't think it's going to end well, because if Miss Reed gets off, then let me know down below. I'll catch you all in the next one.